start for Manchester United. The media haven't covered this. Hello guys, welcome to Bar Chat, your number one sports podcast for solid banter and shamelessly biased opinion. Biased, actually, I've been corrected by Rooney this week that it should be biased with a D. I even had to ask my English teacher wife about this, and she's confirmed annoyingly that Mr. Rooney again is correct as bloody usual. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, and X. We've got lots of videos this week which have gone down really, really well. It's been an interesting second week, I suppose. We can touch on that if we want. I mean, you must feel relieved, Rooney, after that little bit of escape merchant work that you did on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, even with the reddest of rose-tinted glasses, it wasn't good at times, and it was concerning and worrying. So we did get out of jail really right at the end there. But, I mean, it's such a story, wasn't it? 100th minute, 16-year-old comes on, and my God, did he hit that? You know, you would think, oh,
it's a great finish.
Exactly. Finish. You know, last minute, got this to win it, bang, right in the corner. Keeper didn't even move or react.
Did you hear what Slot said about it?
Go on.
Slot said in the interview after, he said he could have even had a touch. He said, but he done really well. But if he'd have missed, I would have told him he should have had a touch.
Well, look, we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to talk about West Ham and their situation. We're going to get a little bit into the Liverpool performance. We're going to talk about these wonder kids to our right. Yeah, talk about the wonder kids to our right. There's a few other controversial things we're going to touch on. Knowing our place in the Premier League, the performance of Amorim. I know you're his favourite fan, Rooney. So I'll be interested to see what you have to see when I present you with some real facts, and we'll take it from them. But listen, let's start with West Ham. It's not been a great start for them. I think that's 12 goals in 3 games conceded. The fans turning of all people on Bowen last night. But I want to ask you a question, guys, and that is, I can't help but feel in this middle sector of clubs that you've got a situation where the likes of Graham Potter, who is the face of the club, he's the one in front of the fans, is almost being thrown to the wolves. They've not invested. They sold Kyrgios to Tottenham. The analogy I made earlier was he's been handed a water pistol, not a gun. He's not a bad manager, is he? He did very well at Brighton, Matt. I mean, what's going on? Do you feel for him? I mean, what's going on there at West Ham? And they obviously need reinforcements, but the suggestion is they can't get them.
Yeah, I actually do feel a bit sorry for him. He went from doing really well, and then went to Chelsea, and it was, I think it was a too big a step for him to go to Chelsea with too many. When the new owners come in and they're buying players left, right, and centre, and I think it was all too much, and there was no conformity or anything. All these big players coming in, and he was just a bit of fodder for the Lions, really. And then he's had a bit of time out. He's gone to West Ham. I like the guy. I think he's a good manager. But like you say, there's been no reinforcements for him. They've lost a couple of players. I think it's important that they've kept hold of Bowen. But at the end of the day,
you'd be questioning what you want to do next if you were Bowen. I'm not saying. I mean, he's obviously West Ham through and through, isn't he? But when you're not seeing any, it's a World Cup year. He's missed the last squad. He must be thinking, shit, I need to put in a show here. I mean, if someone came in for him, Rooney, would he go?
I don't know if he would go, because you say he's got a real tie with the club and the fans. And
Danny Dyer would kick his ass.
He links to the infamous Dyer family. So it will be a big wrench. But I think there'd be no shortage of people, if there's a suggestion he's unhappy off the back of what's happened in 3 games, trying maybe a speculative bid just before the window closes. But that would leave them in a world of hurt. I mean, both myself and Matt on session 1 of our season tipped West Ham to go down. I said it with a heavy heart because they're a good club, and I went to see them a lot when I first moved down to London. They're very good friends of mine. I know they're feeling the pain of the way it's going at the minute and for the last couple of years, aside from the most European success. But I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. Body language looked off. The crowd connection at the stadium's always weaker than the bowling ground where you have people breathing down your neck. So I think already 3 lost games into the season, 2 league, 1 cup. It's going to be a hell of a long season for them.
Yeah. And I think, negativity must be filtering down. Because I don't know. Does anyone know what that West Ham fan? I mean, if you're going to say it to anyone, Bowen's not the guy to have brought it up with, is he? But do you know what was said? Anyone know what was said, or it was just your shit or something? Something to that effect.
I have no idea. All I know is I've seen something that that actual supporter has come out and said, "Well, at least he shows he gives a shit."
Right.
Basically,
fair enough. Well, listen, if you're playing for a club or you're managing, as in Potter is, I'm not sure top of the pick would for your bosses would have been Golden and Karen Brady. Listen, they'll sit there and say it's difficult to sign anyone, and I was going to present an argument to you guys, which was you just got to think a little bit outside the box, haven't you? You look at Brighton, look at Brentford, look at Villa, where they've got a kind of data-driven recruitment, particularly Brentford on that front. The South American markets, young players that are on the cusp and coming through. Rodgers, Duran, Ivan Toney, 2-3 are great examples of that. But there is this thing, Rooney, where if you're a football club owner, do you want to splash 40+ million on a player that's unproven and not know where that's going to go? I mean, but you got to, right? Otherwise, you're going to just drop down the table, and then you're a risk of going down. Or do they just then think, well, if I go down, I get 100 mil?
I think it's a big ask for anybody other than the top 6 really to be investing 40 on a regular basis on a player where there's a doubt. But I do think that model they're running maybe slightly different because the personalities involved. But it's the modern day view, isn't it? The manager doesn't drive recruitment. The manager's a seat at the table around the recruitment committee. So they'll have an opinion, but it won't be a drop-dead decision like it used to be. But I think if you look at it, it's hard to imagine that Potter has wanted what he's got, either in terms of sales out and next to nothing in. It doesn't feel like he would have chosen that. And I think if he's looking at it retrospectively now, I think he should have gotten the England job rather than Tuchel, because they're both bad fits where they are at the minute. Him at West Ham through perhaps not his own fault, and Tuchel just because that's never going to work with England. But that's one for another day.
There's another side, and I think it happened to him at Chelsea, where he got quite a lucrative contract. At Potter, this is, he's going to if you're not in the top 4, and we've talked about, and we'll delve a little bit deeper into this with Newcastle and the likes of the Tottenham, which this shirt is bothering me slightly. It's looking a little bit too Tottenham for me, but and that is that they're paying these managers a lot of money. He's millions of pounds. He's on a 3 or 4 year contract. They're not giving. I don't understand it. It's like getting someone to come and build a house for you, or buying a Michelin chef and giving him little food. I mean, I feel like they're throwing away money. Either they get behind it or they don't get behind it, Matt. At the moment, he's as to use the phrase, you're just feeding him to the lions, because he's got to be favourite to lose his job.
You think so, yeah, if things continue the way they are. But it's also a case that these managers sign these contracts and they know if they don't do well, through no fault of their own, because the board aren't recruiting well and they're selling players. They know 6 months, a year down the line, they're not doing well. They're going to get the sack and get a big payout. So, I mean, it's a win-win for managers, really. And it seems sometimes the history has shown sometimes you get the sack, but
say that, Matt,
but reputation doesn't, because they still get big jobs.
But you're saying that, Matt. But look at Lampard. Yeah, goes to Chelsea first time, second time. I think it was just a bridging thing. He went to Villa, didn't he? Didn't do well, and seems to be able to tear.
Villa.
Oh, sorry. Where did he go after that?
Derby.
He went somewhere else. Was it Derby?
Derby
anyway,
before that. I can't remember.
Anyway, the point I'm really making is then he goes into the Championship, which he did very well at Derby. I think that was before Chelsea, and he's 7-0 at the weekend with Coventry. So is it? It's not like footballers, is it? It's not like you're good enough to play in the Prem, but you're not good enough playing. If you're a manager, is it that cut and dry, Rooney? Where you can do it in the Championship and not do it in the Prem? And sorry, just to the other point is that you're saying there's a job around the corner. There are players that if you get it madly wrong, you're not going to get a job again. The Pardew's of this world won't get a job again. He's not that old. No. You get it wrong. You get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean.
And what's Moisey? What's Moisey thinking now?
Well,
I mean, he must be just relieved to be out of there.
Yeah, probably, but that probably says it's the club rather than the manager or the sitting manager at the time, because whilst he'd taken them to the glorious heights of, Conference League kind of European activity.
European champions, mate.
Yeah. Well, it was never going to be.
They know what they are.
Yeah, statistically highly unlikely ever to be repeated, and therefore you reach your peak, and it's all down from there. But unfortunately, when that happens, the fan base also expect more, and that's unrealistic. And the belief was he wasn't the fit to give them more. But
because he didn't play. He didn't play the West Ham way, did he?
No. But then he's Potter. I don't think he's playing inverted commas the West Ham way. I mean, we had this chat in the pub. That was, the teams through the 90s, the Carricks, the Lampards, the Paulo Di Canhos, the wild kind of expansive, fast-flowing football out to the wings, crosses, spectacular goals. That was what they were known for at the bowling ground. That was their DNA, their identity. It wasn't questioned. And I think just since the move, really, they've never rediscovered that identity, that true identity.
They've always had a talisman. I always think, whether it was Julian Dix or, Billy Bonds or, Bobby Moore go back, or what's his name? Crazy Italian centre forward. They've always had a talisman. They don't seem to have that was always their thing. Grealish would have been good there, actually. We'll get onto that in a minute. But, they don't seem, you don't look at that team now, do you? And think that they're serious. The Olympic Stadium?
You've got two.
Is that half the problem?
I think it is a big bit, mate. But you had Kyrgios who could have become that player. You've got Paqueta, who's kind of floated around being that player, but nobody has that.
But they're talking about selling him to Spurs.
I mean, I can only think there'd be a riot.
There would be, wouldn't there?
This has gone.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and you got to feel. I haven't got many West Ham fans, but you got to feel for them. I think you boys are right. It's only going one way at the moment. But if you sack Potter, who on earth do you put? Who do you attract? Who do you put in?
Well, you've got to assume he wouldn't go until after the window. So you've got a shut window. You can't change it. You've got morale through the floor. You've got an angry crowd base. I think. They could be doomed. Never mind who you could get in. And to the point that Matt made earlier, and he's right, I guess for some managers, the risk-reward play of taking it on and being successful or taking it on as failing, they can look at the failure and go, well, what's the worst that happens? They get a multi-million-pound payout,
yeah.
And I might have 6 months off.
Yeah.
Which is unlike any other industry.
They're basically just living your life, Rooney. You just get a payoff and then just have 6 months playing paddle and, going to Glastonbury and just living the life of Riley. Beating the paddle lessons.
If only life treated me that well, Mark. That's all I'll say.
Well, look, guys, let's move on. This one, I've been looking forward to this subject, Rooney, because I'm almost going to see you turn red with anger. we've had to enjoy, or we've had the pleasure of enjoying. You see the boys over to the right there, Rio and Max.
Sorry,
Oh, you got the dog in.
I'm being attacked.
and Max Dowman, incredible talent. We can't believe the age that these kids are coming through at. We got Dowman, who's won the penalty. Amazing cameo. Looks a superb player. Rio scores, goes on in the 100th minute, scores an incredible goal. I mean, what a finish as well. And just to see him pull away and the celebration, and you imagine if you were his parents. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
But I've got something that I wanted to bring up with you, and it's a cautionary tale that's come up. And and I'll call this section "Wonder Kids" or "Woke Kids," Rooney, because I have to put this to you because I've thought about you when I was writing it. So there's something that's come up now about the governing bodies. Using Saka as an example, he's carried Arsenal for the first, 2 or 3 seasons. Played too many games. He's got a 3-month injury on his hamstring. He's just done 2 games in. He's now out for another 4 weeks. But the medical research that's come through and has been looked at by the governing bodies are suggesting that we now need to have some kind of management of time and play for young players. So what's come back from this medical research is that players under the age of 18 are, I think it's 36% more likely to get what they're calling growth plate injuries. And the discussions at the governing body now are they are going to have to regulate football clubs. So what they're talking about is minutes management. So there'll be a strict cap on the amount of minutes an under 18 player is allowed to play. That suggested maybe something like 45 to 60 minutes max a week. Strictly no 3-game weeks would be allowed. It would have to be in rotation. These things would be non-negotiable. They want to move sprint monitoring into training, and they would have a tailored gym work. Rooney.
This is a proposal, is it?
This is what is being. It's being discussed. I don't know whether this is something that's going to come into play next year. But as a fan, we want to see these players. But you're not allowed, mate.
No, but the suggestion is almost the implication by that is that the clubs don't have their best interests at heart, and I disagree with that. The clubs have a depth of, telemetric. Bio information on every single training session, every single run out, every single injury. And if you go back, Michael Owen, he started at 16 playing for England at 17?
Look what happened to him.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, but got the infamous goal against Argentina, which if he adopted those rules, he wouldn't have been playing in that. Or he certainly wouldn't have been playing, likely had the profile he did. Wayne Rooney, 16, he was playing for Everton, banging the goals in. A much bigger physical specimen. But how much of your body shape and your body structure is almost genetic versus training impaired? Because you take Rio and Max Dowman, if they're not playing in the first team, if they're not in the first team squad, they're certainly playing for the under 21s or the under 18s that week in a competitive match that, yes, won't carry the same physical demands of a Premier League match, but it's not like they're going to be wrapped in cotton wool that weekend. They will still be playing.
Still playing, yeah.
And therefore still potentially subject to injury and strain. So I don't really get it at face value. It does feel...
but is it about, this protection? It's got a sniff of touch rugby about it. It's got a sniff of head guards for boxing. It's got a sniff of,
heading in grassroots football.
Yeah, no heading in grassroots football. And, I mean, listen, I think we all, we're probably, close to 50, past 50-year-old men that probably are, dinosaurs in this. But it is, for me, the world going fucking mad. I can't have this You know, like you say, I mean, okay, for every example you could give where a player is maybe he did get a growth plate injury, Michael Owen, because he was played too long, and maybe Rooney is a different specimen. But how far do we go, Matt? Well, I mean, you're in grassroots. I mean, if someone said Ollie couldn't play, you'd be livid.
No, of course, yeah, but there is a
case. Are you agreeing with this?
A little bit. Well, I am, yeah, because I mean, I said last week they've got all these specialists and nutritionists and psychologists and everything in all these clubs now. When I first, I mean, a totally different job and environment and everything. But when I first started my job, it was you just go about it. Now there's so many psychologists. And people behind the scenes that are looking at stuff. And also in my job, young people aren't allowed to do any free weights until they're over 18. They're only allowed to use cabled weights.
Why is that?
Because of growth plates and the damage it causes to growth plates. So I've known that for years. That's been in place for years. That under 18s aren't allowed to do, when they do weights, they're not allowed to use free weights because they're too heavy and it damages their growth plate. So they're only allowed to use cable machines. But I think everyone's individual. I think because, you know, you said Michael Owen, look at the injuries he's had. But Ryan Giggs didn't have those injuries. I think Ryan Giggs had a real...
Giggsy was in it. Similar frame to Dowman.
Similar frame to Dowman, yeah. But and you got Rooney. That was so. These early players, I think it all depends on the individual person, as well as scientific facts that these things can happen. I think it eventually comes down to the individual person.
But at that point, Matt, I also think no club wants to burn out a valuable asset at a young age and not see them blossom into a great career. Therefore, an external forced directive into the industry feels wrong because it suggests that clubs won't do the right thing. And I think the clubs would always do the right thing based on...
Rooney, I don't know if I agree with you, mate. I mean, you know, we've just lost Saka. Let's assume lost another player. Medawaki or something. We haven't got right. You know, that's two of your best players. You've got Max Dowman sat on the thing. He's a wonder kid. You telling me, or you closer to home for you, Rio? You know, do you telling me that the clubs have got a discipline where they will not play a player when there's so much money involved, and if this kid's tearing it up?
Yeah, I mean
that's where it needs to be a non-negotiable, and it needs to be controlled.
Yeah, I just.
I mean, I hate it, mate. You know me. I hate being told what to do at the best of times. The fact that they're sitting there telling me, the wife will tell you that. But at the same time, when we're sitting there going, I mean, is this not the lunatics running the asylum?
Yeah, but look at last year. Yamal wouldn't have a World Cup winning medal if that was likely in play there.
There's another side to this, really. Is there? I mean, let's just is Rio English?
Do you know? Well, I think he is. He's English.
I believe he is.
Yeah, so he could play for England
because he was at Chelsea.
But just hypothetically,
he's had Chelsea since the age of 8. I don't know if he was born in.
Right, hypothetically speaking, they could play for England, right? Let's just assume these kids get some games and they this, that, and the other, and Tuchel goes, all right, I'm going to pick him for the World Cup England squad. He ain't going to pick him, is he? Because he's going to go, well, they can play in the semi-final, but I can't play him in the. He can play in the first half of the semi-final. But I'm not sure he can play unless that falls on the Saturday and that falls on the Sunday. That's less than 7. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's interference in the structure of the club. So,
and also their careers, arguably. I mean, if either one of those two over there don't get in the England squad because some Egypt comes up with this rule that they can't play in every game or can't play, in the semi-final and the final because they're too close together. What's that doing for the development of footballers? What's that doing to football?
Yeah. It's a bit nanny state, really, isn't it?
Well, it's got to, it can't go on, can it?
No.
But it will.
Of course
Well,
it will only get worse. It will only get worse as well,
no.
unfortunately.
It's not just football.
No,
That
it's everything.
kind of position.
Society.
Now. Yeah.
Society will make it worse. Yeah.
Well, you might upset someone, so we'll move on. We'll move into our topic number 3. We touched on it earlier, Rooney. Your Mob 3-2 win. I mean, you were texting me throughout the game. You said the title's yours. I think was your first text. The next text was, "This is a joke." Blah 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 blah. And then there you are, 2-0. I mean, what were you thinking? You're 2-0 up. They're down to 10. I mean, firstly, I'll just say to this because I've heard lots of my Geordie mates saying, what did I sent it to you actually? Virgil he got that tattooed on his leg just so he can pull up any player that challenges him and show it to the ref. He didn't leave any choice, did he? He had to go.
No. That was disgusting.
It wasn't I don't think it was intentional.
I agree, Matt. I agree, Matt. But he left him with no choice, did he?
Yeah, of course. No. It's just sending off, but it wasn't an intentional. Like down the back of the leg.
If you run at that pace and you leave the ground, and then almost mid-air you think, "Oh, I better try and pull out of this. I didn't realise I was going that fast." Then you knew when you started that run, you had intent. Now, you might not have had intent to damage him, but the way it ended up, even if he tried to pull out, he'd scrape those studs down the back of his calf and, fractionally above his Achilles. If he'd have raked his Achilles there, he could have been out for a season.
Matt hasn't got an opinion on this. He's shit at pulling out.
Yeah.
That's why I've got 4 kids.
That's 5.
Four now.
Yeah.
4.
But
listen, but if you watch that run, really, he's to be fair to him, he's gone and tried to cover he's closing down. He's tried to cover the left back. He's run and covered the other centre half. He's gone across to Virgil. He's come across. He's a second out, isn't he? There was no. It wasn't malicious.
No. He wasn't out of control. It was mistimed.
Next you'll be telling me Pickford didn't mean to bloody do an ACL on Van Dijk when he was flying through the air at 90 degrees onto his knee. I mean, every player's got a responsibility when they attack with that venom, whether they think at the last minute I'm going to pull out anyway, and they don't. Or it goes the wrong way.
I'll say, in my younger days, I was very, very quick, rapid, and sometimes
momentum,
and sometimes you're too quick to. And if someone changes direction slightly, you think, I'm closing this lad down. I'm going to get the ball here, and they change something slightly. It fucks your head and stride and everything. And I honestly don't think it was intentional. I think it was badly timed, a bit of immaturity maybe, but badly timed. I don't think it was malicious at all.
I mean, does it help? Does it help Rooney that the chairman decided to put a big banner up saying "Get at them" or "Get into them" or whatever it was?
Well, not really. I mean, it's in one sense it's understandable. But what did Slot say after the game? That wasn't a football match. One statistic I saw today: the ball was in play 40.1%, which is the lowest Premier League game for, I think it said 20 years. And it was Stoke and Blackburn that had the next lowest figure than that. And like Slot said after the game, he said that wasn't football. It was like a cup final. What they do
is that how low Liverpool have gone this season, Paul? Gone Stoke and Blackburn's level, or
it is how low they've gone.
Not yet. But the thing is, I mean, when they played that high line at the end, the almost ridiculously high line with Dan Burns stood there, and you're thinking, "Oh, what's he going to do now? He's going to put it on Dan Burns' head." Exactly what he did. It broke favourably to Sula, and he got it. It's a decent goal. He got it round the keeper in. But I do question that tactically and think, given the freakishness of Dan Burn and his height and almost the predictable nature of that play.
It's been a bit heightist here.
You can't call him a freak.
Well, I thought 88 minutes, 2-2, 10 minutes injury time. I thought, oh shit, momentum, 2-0 lead, the most dangerous lead in the Premier League statistically. And all players and all managers should know that and should react to that. So if you'd sat there 2-0, don't let anybody get a sniff of one back. Go and get the third, finish it. But when it went to 90 minutes and the 10 minutes came up, I was worried. I thought, my God, people's heads are going to go now because, momentum was with the attacking team. They were going balls out. The crowd was behind them. So it was...
Have you been to St James's by any chance? Well, you'll know what it's like, don't you? I mean, if you go into St James's and they get I was thinking that because I remember going there when Arsenal, they get the first goal. It's a very long way back because it is. I mean, it's an incredible atmosphere. It's hostile. I mean, I've never been to Anfield, but I'm sure I much expect it's very similar. And I thought if they get that, and as soon as they got that goal back, and it was quite early in that second half, I thought to myself, "You're on the back foot here because they will go for it."
And the other thing is, I had Arsenal fans on a group chat I'm on after the first goal went in, saying, "Oh, here we go," and then when the second goal went in and it became level, there was silence. And I thought they're looking at their watches going only 2 minutes to wait, before I started a deluge.
I'd almost wrote the text, mate. I think I had to delete it.
Yeah. And then when, it was almost like slow motion. When that ball went out, I think it was, he played it into Elliot. Elliot played it out wide, came back in.
You're not fucking Martin Tyler. We don't need to hear the fucking full goal.
But when the ball went towards Szoboszlai, I thought, he's going to try and nick that at near post. There was a player on him, but I thought he could still get it round. And when he jumped over it, I thought,
that was
a big ask on a 16-year-old in the last minute to win the game. But wow, the confidence of the strike, because he didn't just side foot, he levered it in. Absolutely,
it was a side foot. I mean, to be fair, with power, but it was perfect because it was the right weight for him to run onto. Yeah, to side foot, you don't have to smash it because the momentum of it coming towards you don't have to smash it. You just have to meet it. But he put whip on it as well to get inside that far post. He put it was a great finish for a young kid in that scenario. I mean, you can just imagine as he's running onto that, and he
can't.
And he's going up. I mean, does it even go for you, Ed, or is it just it must be? It's that quick. It's just natural. Yeah. And he's done that, and fair play to the kid. What a great fucking goal!
Amazing.
Hell of a goal. Yeah. So I didn't expect a winner. I must admit, it was a nice surprise. And then I did retrospectively go around the Arsenal fans in the group chat privately and just say, "Were you getting getting ready to chirp there?" And sure enough, they were gutted, absolutely gutted. And to be honest, I'd teed it up. We had a chat in the pub the other night, and a chat with me Liverpool mates on the group chat. I felt that game was enormous because I thought if we lost that game with the Isaac backdrop, all the noise, Arsenal with 6 points, we'll go to Anfield, cock a hoop, and we'll be right. We're going to go for the throat. We've seen how vulnerable they are defensive. We are literally going to go balls out today and go for it. And I thought if we get a draw, they might do the same because if they get the win, we're 5 points behind having played 3. And given their experience in recent seasons, I think they'd have managed the season to make sure that gap didn't drop below 5 points. I felt it was that big a game 3 games in. So to get away with the 3 points, and he said deserved or otherwise, was enormous for us because it means going into Sunday, even if heaven forbid we were to lose, then it's still only a 3-point gap at that early stage in the season. But it will be as you know, it will be a hell of an atmosphere on Sunday. And we haven't played well. We can only get better. Wirtz has been a disappointment. I think he's had a shock coming into the Premier League, and I don't think we've got the patterns of play right in midfield. we were playing an 8-10 at right back as well the other night. He did as good a job as he could there, but the balance wasn't there. But hopefully this weekend, I mean, Gravenberch made a bit more difference in midfield in terms of competitiveness. But hopefully this weekend we got Maka back in midfield as well, and that'll make a difference as well.
Well, I was going to say to you, as we touched on, I thought Kyrgios looked. I mean, is it the one thing I want? I mean, you can go wax lyrical. I was when you were in flow there. I'm sitting there thinking is week one we've taken the piss out of the, whether the shirt is big enough, and I'm just staggered. You've got your head through the collar today, regardless of anything else. But typical Liverpool fan, we just have to accept how it is. But Kyrgios looked vulnerable. I thought, as you say, Wirtz.
He's not settled.
Wirtz 119 million or what it is. He doesn't look to have a creative bone in his body. He's got a touch of the Odegaards, actually.
That's I think on the first game of the season, he ran, what was it, the Bournemouth game? I think he ran something like 2.8 kilometres more than any other player on the pitch.
Yeah, okay, but you didn't sign Linford Christie, did you? You were trying to sign someone who was pretty good with the football. Yeah, but there are as I said, more of a mouse than magic. But there are a list of players from the Bundesliga that have come in and found life very difficult in the real world. Werner, Havertz, Sancho, Joe Linton, even. Yeah, so I mean, as Matt said to you, last week when we were talking about Højlund, you come in with all these big ideas, but suddenly you get hit with a little bit of reality, a bit like you on the paddle court, and and this is what generally it'll go for weeks. By the way,
is your knee still in strapping after that?
It's still strapped up, mate. Nothing to do with the paddle. That's just me looking after my body. It's my thingy plate or whatever it is.
Your growth plates.
My growth plates. But listen, are you worried about it? I mean, come on, let's have a dose of thing. Is this a patch? I'm worried about. Let me just paint this to you. Klopp had that team. Slot's gone in. He's inherited that team. I think you get the natural. What do they call it when a new manager goes in? You get that kind of knee-jerk bounce. Yeah, he's played with the team. You've lost Trent. Can't get in the Real team, by the way. Lost Trent. Is this a patch-up team? Are they title contenders? Do you not feel he's got maybe too many technical players and not enough guile in the middle of the park? Are you worried genuinely, or do you just think it's just teething?
I'm not worried longer term. I'm worried slightly shorter term for different reasons. So we've got injuries, and there's a lot of getting to know you with some of the new players and getting the patterns of play established. We've got a new number 9 who scores every single goal, who is plays at 10, but not
TK.
Was he player? What's his shirt? 22.
I don't know.
22. Yeah. But looks a natural born goal scorer. His goals, his finishing's been outstanding. I think the left hand side we struggled. Gakpo didn't play well the other day. The per game, obviously Rio came on very, very late, and is Rio the answer every game for age reasons? Probably not. So needs some strengthening on the left hand side. There is talk that Ekitike has played a lot down the left and a lot down the centre. So if Isaac was to come in before the window, then it's likely we wouldn't buy another left-sided player. But I'm worried short term, not long term. I mean, Bradley's been injured, came on, looked unfit, didn't play particularly well. As I said, when you're having to play against any Premier League team, but particularly away from home with a makeshift right back, when as a team you're not in great form, it's a challenge. So to get 3 points out of that game is almost a miracle.
Well, I said to you, I think in the pub the other night, the best teams win. I mean, United used to do it all the time in the 90s. They go out, win ugly. Win ugly, exactly. I was going to try and go through this entire podcast without talking about Isak, but I will ask you very quickly, because I thought about this driving to work, listening to TalkSport this morning, driving in. I think about when we were interested in him, and then I look at it and I go, it's all got a bit. The water's got a bit muddy, isn't it? And I know you want to talk about. I'll have him. But as the days are going on, do you still stand in the position you stood last week, Rooney, where you go, I'll have him, not a problem, not concerned. He's a super player. He's been ill-treated by Newcastle. I don't know. I'm looking and going, I think probably he needs to worm his way back in the team and build brand. We'll talk about later on about players that might ruin a brand. But you're unwavered on you want him in.
Absolutely. To me, I just think it needs done now. I think
it's got boring, isn't it? It's got boring.
If it goes to deadline day, it's almost cheapening the whole thing. Really, it's.
But do you think a player that does this to his club that have brought him in and made his name?
Yeah,
because you probably wouldn't hear of him if he stayed where he was.
Well, when we're talking, Matt, about £40 million players that you aren't proven, he was one of them.
Yeah, he was one of them.
I think he was.
So Newcastle, but Newcastle have brought him in. Newcastle have played a system and trusted him, and he's done exceptionally well. Right, he's done really well. He goes to Liverpool. He does well at Liverpool. He carries on the way he has been at Newcastle. He goes to Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona, or one of these big European clubs come calling. Is he going to do the same thing to you guys? Is he going to go, I want to go to Real Madrid and I'm not going to play?
Well, Matt, there's another side to that, is that Newcastle get so fucking upset as they like. They're doing the same thing they're doing their own thing, exactly the same to Brentford over Wissa. So is this just modern football?
They all do, and to the point about all clubs are at it. I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea still in dispute about Rio and a settlement fee for that, because he came out of their academy without signing professional terms with them, because Liverpool promised him an accelerated route into the first team squad, and he couldn't see that at Chelsea. So it's gone to tribunal to try and settle a fee. But all clubs are at it all the time, and they're not doing it they're doing it with their own, rightly so, selfish interests at times at heart. But no one club is doing it. No two clubs are doing it. They're all doing it, just on different levels.
But what if this Isak deal doesn't come out? What happens to Isak?
He'll worm his way back in.
Because apparently I heard that the owners have been round his house and tried to convince him to stay.
Yesterday, and he said no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you've got to think about the harmony in the dressing room as well. Like you say, if he is a successor, if this is what happens as a successor as Newcastle, who are way down the food chain, if he does well for you, you're going to have the Barcelonas, the Real Madrid, the proper big money, like the proper big clubs. They're going to come sniffing around, and suddenly he's going to be sitting, around in the fields of Anfield Road, waiting to go somewhere else for that, and then you're on the receiving end.
I'll tell you what,
and it will deserve you right.
I'll tell you what, I'll take that risk willingly, and I'll chuckle at you two when he's so happy at Liverpool, banging in 25 a season. He loves the weather. He's no interest in going and getting the sun on his back in Madrid.
Do you believe in karma? Because I think he might get some when he goes. Because Ekatike should keep him out of the team.
At the minute, I agree.
In between hamstrings and groin injuries and stuff like that, we've already discussed over the weeks. Yeah,
you've a really weird way of dressing up your bitterness, given he was the top target for Arsenal for 18 months.
No, I'm not bitter at all. I think what we've realised is he's a bit of a sociopath, and he's probably not right for our dressing room.
No, and
but they're a bit slower up in Liverpool, so they haven't worked that one out yet.
I'll just remind you, how did Gyökeres leave Sporting?
He split up with his girlfriend and therefore needed a getaway.
Booked a removal van, made it all public. He's done almost exactly the same. The only thing is he got his transfer through.
But he's got a much nicer hairdo, and that's.
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see how he does.
Well, listen, we're going to move on to our next section. Matt,
Yep.
This is going to put you right in the spotlight here, son.
Just never an Amorim, is it?
I just want you to reflect, both of you, Matty and Rooney. I want you to give me one word to describe Gary Neville's tenureship. Careful, you'll get where I'm going in a second. Gary Neville's tenure at Valencia. One word. Because the Daily Mail described it as disgusting. So I'll just leave it to you to give me one word to describe what you think his tenureship was like at Valencia.
Comparable.
Embarrassing.
He knows exactly where this is going.
Embarrassing stroke humiliating.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah.
Humiliating. Let me give you some numbers. Neville at Valencia was looking after the team for 28 games. He lost 11 of them. He conceded 39 goals, and his win rate was 35.7%. Ruben Amorim at Manchester United has played 29 games. He lost 4 more games, 15 games lost. They've scored less than half the goals, 16 goals, and his win rate is 24%. My question to you is not, should they be thinking of sacking him? My question to you is, why is he even in the job still in the first place? I know you've got old star fan like over there on the right, even though he's in a Liverpool shirt, seems to think that he's the next Paisley. But the facts don't lie. Absolutely diabolical. And let me just finish this by saying, whilst in the wings and taught you a lesson at the weekend, I'd arguably say, is Marco Silva, who I think would go into that club and get something right. I don't understand your signings. I think it's all a little bit galactico, no thinking process structure, massive problem in the midfield, arguably at the back, goalkeeper's a nightmare. How can you still be, as a Manchester United fan, behind this idea of Amorim? Because it looks, and particularly when I'm giving the biggest joke of football management as 10% better, that you should be keeping Amorim.
I think we bring in Marco Silva. I think we bring in anyone. It could be anyone. Still in the same boat. They're still going to want to bring in their own players.
So do you think this is a Manchester United Football Club problem and not a management problem?
I think it's I think it's a Manchester United problem. I think that
but it looks maverick. I mean, we're talking about Slot being a little bit maverick with how he's doing with the thing. When you look across the road, across the M62, they must be sitting there and going, you think we got fucking problems?
Yeah. I think any manager that goes in, you change Amorim now, we're going to be back to square one again.
Yeah, but very quickly, Matt, you're in this thing. The point I'm making heavily is you have just blown this summer Tottenham, Newcastle out of the water with the ability to sign Cunha, Mbeumo, even with no Champions League football, with no European football, with 2 clubs that have Champions League football, the brand that is Manchester United, you can't fuck with that. You can't continually just go, oh, it's Manchester United, we'll be all right. You cannot continue to do that because very quickly you'll be down the food train. It's a long way back. And I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing from Amorim, I'm not seeing, Arsenal talk about trust the process. I don't even see a process with Amorim. I mean, it's almost like you might as well get Ange in. I'm not Rooney. I mean, I know he's your, the facts don't lie.
When he went there, I thought they potentially got their clock because he was really, really good at sporting. And I thought he doesn't tolerate the kind of personalities. He'll sift through all of that nonsense. But I think there's a lot of it is that there is so much going on in the background that he's found it just almost mission impossible But I think that's taking the edge off his capability as well. I expected United, having had a pre-season under him, to come out, if not all guns blazing, then a very different beast. They were disappointing for me against Arsenal. I didn't see the Fulham game at the weekend, but I saw the result. And I'm actually a bit surprised. I expected more. When you're not distracted by European competition, you can literally throw the kitchen sink at every single Premier League game in the season. It's underwhelming. And I do now wonder whether something's cracked in him and he's just like, I can't do this. This job's too big for anybody.
You can't be in a... It is, Matt, but we're talking... How long ago did Fergie leave? Because we're talking about a 10-year hangover, aren't we? How long are we talking here? I can't even remember what year he left.
Was it 2011 or 12?
Right, so we're talking a 10, 12, 15-year hangover, whatever it is. Moisey had no chance when he went in. The boots were too big to fill. But, you've not brought mugs in, have you? Mourinho comes in. You've not brought mugs in. But they are... I know the Glazers are milking the club. They're taking all the money out. There's a big transformation that's about to happen with the stadium and everything that's going on. But regardless of all of that, the brand that is Manchester United, I don't see them signing players where you think, okay, the process makes sense. We talked last week, didn't we, about the spine of the team? What is the spine of that team?
The bit I can't understand, and we'll see in the next, 5, 6 days, how many's left. I can't understand how Kobbie Mainoo isn't getting a game in that midfield.
He's playing tonight.
He's playing tonight.
What's the game tonight?
Yeah,
but Matt, he's playing in the... He's a holding midfield player, right? He's one of the...
I don't get it. I've spoken to my son Ollie. I've spoken to him. How he keeps bringing Ugarte on, who is absolute...
He's shocking
shit at the minute. Yeah. He keeps bringing him on, and Mainoo's not getting on the pitch. And then we could go back to protection of younger players and bullshit. He's done it. How Mainoo is not getting on the pitch.
Can I ask you another question? Surely to fucking God, he can get a tune out of Garnacho or Jadon Sancho or do you what's the problem there? Jadon Sancho did okay at Chelsea, all right, but Garnacho, there's a player there. 100% there's a player
but
there.
he's an absolute knobhead.
You're saying that because he chucked on a Villa shirt, eh?
No. I just think he's to turn around and go, I go Chelsea or I sit and I don't play for 6 to 12 months. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, surely as a professional footballer, you want to play week in, week out, do the best you can, and like these global brands, you want to make it a brand for yourself. Garnacho is sitting there going, if I don't go Chelsea, I won't play for 6 or 12 months till the next windows.
You're sitting on the weekend, no doubt. I know your missus and all of her family a big Fulham, and you're sitting there and you're watching that. What are you thinking?
We were all together.
It's week. Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah, but week 2, what are you thinking?
Yeah, we were shocked. I'd say the first 15, 20 minutes, I thought, okay, we've this is a good start. We'll get this in the bag, and then it just slowed down, went back to last season, and I'm going to put this out there. Fernandez's excuses and whinging and moaning and shouting and arms raised, I'm done with him. He can go. He can do one as well.
Who would you like to see come in?
In his place?
Mm.
I think we've got players that can. We've got Mainoo because he's moved back from a number 10.
I thought Mainoo would play holding. Or an 8, box to box.
An 8, yeah. So Mainoo can do it.
You'd put him in the 10.
Who, Mainoo?
Yeah.
But Fernandez isn't playing a 10.
Who's in your 10 then? 10. Right.
You've got Cunha that can play a 10. You've got Bemo that can play a 10.
Well, listen,
So-
you've got Matt. What are we 5-6 days away? I don't know how long we got. What do you need? And who?
I would
Who would
say
you have in?
holding midfielder.
Who?
I'd have. we talk about the gambles of 40 million a gamble on a player that's not proven in the Premier League. I'd go Adam Wharton.
Great shout.
Adam Wharton.
I feel sorry for Palace, but great shout.
He's got Liverpool next summer. Sorry to say.
If you do well this year.
But mate, that is a great shout.
Adam Wharton. I think get rid of Fernandes. Honestly, if we could get for the age he is, if we could get 100 million or 80 million for him.
Well, apparently the Saudis are still interested. Yeah,
they're still interested. They're going to come back in. If we could get 80 million for him, I'd say right, mate.
But you've got to have a replacement.
It's not your choice anymore. Of course, yeah.
You've got to have a replacement.
It can't be a last minute deadline day deal, and he goes, and we've got no one. But you know, maybe.
But the other thing I'll ask you, Matt, you know, when I'll take you to the class of '92 and those lads that came through, there seems to be a distinct lack of players coming through the system at United, and that, you know, that's what got Liverpool out of jail after they sold. What you said for 120 million. What was his name? And Robertson came through. Trent came through. You signed Coutinho, yeah, and you signed Virgil. You know, that gave you the money together with young players coming through, like Arsenal had with Saka or Smith Rowe, and you know.
We only had Trent because Robertson came from Hull, but
you had a couple of other players that came through the system, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe support.
Oh, I think you definitely did. They were, you know, they were definitely players.
The big buys with the money were Virgil, Alisson, and who else did we buy? We bought three.
No idea.
Mental block. We bought three with
McAllister. It wasn't McAllister, no?
No, he was later. Yeah.
But Matt, you know, look, let's stay on United. We'll finish this little section. So you're against Marco Silva. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. I don't understand why you poo-poo that straight off the bat. I just think he doesn't look like he has a fucking clue to me. I mean, I don't know. I'm really surprised, and I don't know. You'll know more than me. You probably watch United, you know, YouTube channels and whatnot, but they're not. Is it not a 50-50 divide, or most people going, yeah, Amorim, the pro Amorim?
The thing is with me, Mark, we've seen a lot of changes since Fergie went, and nothing's changed. Yeah, we've had European football and blah blah blah, but we've not been deserving really sometimes, and not been up for the European football. What I don't want to happen is we change manager again, and we're back to square one, and we've just wasted another 18 months with Amorim. A new manager then comes in and changes ways, changes players, and then it doesn't work out for him for 18 months, and we change. You know, there's got to be a stop in the. You know.
But we all criticise the likes of Chelsea, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Seemed to be going through managers like Socks and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that followed them was trophy after trophy after trophy. Because if the shoe didn't fit, they didn't question it. They just got rid of it. And you know, and the risk you've got there is you sound like, you know, the geezer that's been married to whatever, an Alexandria, shall we call her, or Alex Ferguson for 40 years. It's all been quite successful. You know, he's shagged a few birds along the way. None of them's quite worked out. So now he wants to, you know, just stick with this one, and you know, he's kind of, you know, getting his leg over once or twice a month, and we should just put up with that. I bad analogy, but what I'm getting at is the point is it the there's a saying. It's it'll come to me in a minute. You're too scared to make a move. It's a paralysis of analysis is what I was looking for. So it's like you analyze that you are looking and it's not worked out. So therefore now you're paralyzed by the idea of making a change. When you can sit there and go, you might as well bring Gary Neville in because you're 10% better than the geezer you got at the moment. And we can't argue the facts, can we?
No, you can't.
I mean, even Rooney's a secret closet, kind of Gary Neville fan.
Really? That's stretching it.
Rooney, final thoughts on this subject?
I'm surprised at how they've started the season. I don't know what they can do in 5 days in the transfer window to change it dramatically. I agree. I don't see that identity then. I don't see the players necessarily being bought into his classic 3-4-3 system with conviction. So I think I'd tip them top 5 this year. I have to very quickly make a revision to that and say top half would be success for them this year.
If you can imagine yourself in the with a red devil on your shirt there, would you want him to stay? Because Matt, like Matt's saying, he's worried about keep making changes.
Yeah, but to your point, they've had good managers before, and it's always not worked. And when I say not worked from a period of stability or a dynasty being built. It's just not happened, which says it's the almost fabric of the club, which is a big part of the problem. So if you keep moving out talented managers, and I would say, I think he's let himself down, Amorim, by the way they've started the season. It's been his pre-season. He's had options. For whatever reason, he wants shot of Manu. I don't get it. And they're the things that when you add it all up, doesn't make a lot of sense. And don't forget, only towards the end of last season, he was saying, if the club want me to go by the end of the season, I'll gladly go with no money. He'd made those comments. So I do wonder how it's going to end up. I do.
Well, we don't know, but it leads me quite nicely into our next subject, which is there's a lot of speculation now where people or clubs talking about where they fit in the food chain, and I think there's a massive problem here where the likes of Tottenham and Newcastle, you've got to feel for them a little bit. I mean, when Isak, not to get onto him too much, is if he did have an agreement that with Newcastle, it's just to suggest he did, it would have been on Newcastle's terms, and they say, well, we'll sign a replacement and we'll let you go. They've been totally unable to sign a replacement. But I wanted to ask you a question, and I'll relate it quite closely to Grealish going to Everton, who I don't know if you saw the game, by the way. Fantastic to see, even as a Liverpool fan, the Evertonians in that stadium, and, they deserve it to some degree. Rooney, can you at least nod to that one? And it looked wonderful. And Grealish,
but he's gone to sleep.
Yeah, he's going, I'm not even listening to this Evertonian shit.
Where's Ian Connor when you need him?
Yeah, he did I thought he played super well, but it led me to think where, as I say, know where you are in the food chain. Why is a Newcastle or a Spurs, even I'd say a Manchester United, not had one sniff or interest in Jack Grealish? Because there's a player there, and he showed it. He was a class above anyone on that pitch for me, and I think any Evertonian watching will support what I've just said. Our chef is an Evertonian. It's as if they've signed George Best, age 29. Surely more players can be there, and I think this is to do with they don't think he's good enough. And therefore, they're not interested. Go on, go for it. Yeah.
I think, Mark, there was probably more than Everton in for him, and he has made a decision that he can stay in the north, where he's had a baby. He can stay up there, stay settled. The World Cup's next year.
Going to play every week.
He will play every week. He will do well at Everton. I think he'll be given. He had a free role at kind of a Villa. He was very restricted at City. I think he'll be given that same role at Everton that he had at Villa. And
he's right, Matt, because if you were Tuchel, if he plays like that all season, difficult not to, even if you weren't as an impact player, difficult to leave him at home, wouldn't it?
Of course. And if he went to Newcastle, he's competing against Gordon on the left hand side,
and Barnes.
Where else? I can't think of anywhere else he'd go.
So is he the classic? You know, the Letiziers of Southampton, the Di Canio of West Ham, the Villa for him when he was a kid. He thrives as a big fish in a small pond. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So is that disrespectful to Everton, Liverpool, Everton, Rooney?
Maybe not.
I was just saying, I think he's in old money. He's what you describe as a luxury player, and a club's got to want to accommodate somebody with that talent to either the detriment or the impairment of other areas.
How would you call him? How would you call him a luxury player? Do you know on Saturday he put more challenges in, more tackles than any player on the pitch?
Yeah, well, there you go. Have he's worked on that side?
Can I retract my statement where I agreed with you a minute, Mark? I want to say about. I don't think he is a big fish in a small pond. I actually think for Jack Grealish, you need to play to his strengths, and Man City never did that.
Is he more of a Kevin Keegan-like player, if you know what I mean? But he needs an arm around him. He needs a cuddle.
He needs an arm around, but just give him the freedom.
Yeah.
At Villa, he had that freedom on the pitch where he could drift inside, he could go into the 10 role, inside left 10 role, and he had that bit of freedom. He could go out wide, he could beat players. When he went to City, under
working
Pep,
in a structure,
they've got such a strict structure, and if you don't adhere to those strict instructions, you don't play.
Well,
someone else will.
Arteta's got the same problem, and it worries me about Eze actually that he'll do the same thing to him. But listen, I started off this saying about there are players like Grealish out there. Grealish is one of them, but they're trying to sign the Sescos, which were high in demand. Mumbueo, Cunha. All these players that come in. But there are other players like Garnacho, like Sancho at Man United, Reece Nelson at Arsenal, great little winger. Kingland Lee at PSG is out of favour. Asensio is out of favour. Fabio Vieira can do a job. They're a second, if you like, tier of footballer. My thing is these teams, the Newcastles, the Tottenhams, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an Arsenal fan, but you're not going to attract Champions League or no Champions League. You are not going to attract the players they're going for. You've got to be realistic. And so why are all these players, I'm sure Garnacho, Sancho and Reece, all of those players will probably find a club in the next 5 or 6 days. But I would say, why didn't they try and sign them and get a bit of a pre-season and get something out of them? Rooney, we're lucky, right? We support proper clubs, all three of us. I say that tongue in cheek. Other than you. No, we have the luxury of being in that top 4, right? So we can shout from our ivory towers. But you do have to think, we started this when we were talking earlier about West Ham. You got to think outside the box. Why aren't they going for those players? Why are they not interested in those players?
The media haven't covered this.